Strategy 3 I call the boat and water level. Okay, so you've been inspired by examples of resilience and you've got a sense of, I'd love to be like that. I'd love to respond to difficult situations in a way where I rise to the occasion and really have a good response. But also, how do I do that? And I'd like to tell a story about a picture that I have found enormously helpful here. Over 30 years ago, I went to a lecture by a pioneer of the holistic approach to healthcare, Professor Patrick Pietroni, and he described health, well-being as a bit like rowing along in a little boat. And he talked about illness or difficulties as like crashing into a rock. And in that image, doctors are a bit like geologists. They know all about the rocks that you can bump into. And that's like a problem-solving approach. So when we talk about this is a story about somebody, the adversity faced is, what helps is sometimes it's really helpful to get the support of somebody who knows a lot about the rock that you crash into, the type of problem that you crash into. But there's another side to resilience, and that's the water level. Because if your water level is low, you're more likely to crash into rocks. What we mean by the water level, it's like your general level of well-being, of resilience in the system. And I love this as an image of resilience, a way of thinking about resilience. So when your water level is low, it's like you're depleted, you're at a low ebb, you're more likely to crash. When you're well-resourced, when your water level's at a higher level, you may find yourself floating over situations that you would otherwise crash into. So the first part of this strategy is just having the image. It's a way of thinking, it's an insight about resilience, that resilience isn't just about being able to deal with the rocks, it's also about where your water level is. And then the second part of this strategy is to think of downward arrows as anything that pushes your level of resilience down, and upward arrows as anything that increases your resilience. And you can use this as a way of mapping the different factors that influence resilience. So for example, if you were to think, on some days I might respond to a problem really well, and on other days I might, even like the smallest thing might be something that causes a bigger dip that I respond to less well. What is it that makes a difference? I'd be more likely to respond badly if. And if you think about that, well, I'd be more likely to respond badly if I haven't been sleeping well. So poor sleep, sleep disturbance, that's a downward arrow that can reduce or undermine resilience. But there are other things that you do that when you do on a regular basis, it's like they raise your level of resilience. It's like they strengthen your whole system, and you'll be aware of what some of those are. So it might be on the days I'd float over something I might otherwise crash into. That would be more likely to happen if, for example, I had been sleeping well, eating well, taking care of myself, and also I'd been so interested in resilience that I'd been learning new strategies. And so on previously, those are situations that might have been a crash for me, but actually I learnt ways that helped me deal with them. So how do you actually do this strategy? Well, just get a bit of paper and draw a line and ask yourself, what are some of the things that weaken or undermine my resilience? And just draw those in as downward arrows. But then also, what are the things that add to or strengthen my resilience? And draw those in as upward arrows. And what you're doing is, when you're doing this force field analysis, that's a term for this, you're mapping out the different factors that influence your resilience. Some of them you might look at and you think, well, that by itself isn't going to make much difference. If you were to put a little frame around just one upward arrow, you think, well, that's not going to do much. But what you're looking at here are the many small steps that you can take, that are easy to take, that you could do on a regular basis. And what that does is it strengthens the background. It changes the context in a way that allows your resilience to gradually grow step by step.